What's going on, Bills Mafia? What's going on? Welcome to Buffalo Rumblings Postgame Call-in show. Man, I had to race. I had to race to get here in time to be with you guys tonight. I just came from a almost Queen concert. I was watching the game on my phone while I was doing this. We're 11-3, ladies and gentlemen. The Buffalo Bills are 11-3, just winning tonight against the Miami Dolphins, 32-29. Man, what a game! What a game, right? Looks like my buddy texted me and said, God wanted us to win. He said, let's sprinkle a little bit of snow on this game and get this thing rolling. And that's exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened tonight. They said, you know what, we're gonna make sure the Buffalo Bills win this game. We're gonna make sure this thing comes to fruition, and we're gonna bring it home. And that's exactly what happened today, guys. We had Josh Allen absolutely carry carry this game. Man, you can't say enough about Josh Allen. The guy has absolutely been so clutch for this team week in, week out, just consistently just doing everything in his power to make sure that this team is always in position. And man, he's become such an integral, just not even just I mean, obviously, he's so important. You know that he is everything to this franchise, but his ability and willingness to put the team on his back and do everything in his power to carry them past the goal line. I mean, you saw it. You saw it. But first things first, I want to jump right in. I want to tell you that obviously this is the Buffalo Rumblings post-game call-in show on the Buffalo Rumblings Vidcast Network, presented by Picasso's Pizza. Treat yourself to the most flavorful pizza on game day. Picasso's, we are Buffalo Pizza, shipping local and nationwide. Order online at picassospizza.net. Now, guys, if you want to actually have an opportunity to say your piece about tonight's show, excuse me, tonight's game, feel free, click the link, join the conversation. I'd love to talk to you. You don't have to be on camera. It's fine. If you're coming from the game, I want to hear from you. If you're standing in the parking lot and getting snowed on, I want to hear from you. If you're at the stadium right now, still standing in the stands, I want to hear from you. If you're at home enjoying yourself in a nice 70-degree controlled temperature, I want to hear from you. All right. We're going to go through right now and go through the stats of today's game. The Bills win 32-29, moving to 11-3 on the season. Miami dropping to 8-6. Josh Allen finishing 25 of 40, 304 yards, 4 touchdowns. Back to what you would expect is the normal game for a guy like Josh Allen. 10 carries, 77 yards. Just everything. Josh is doing everything to carry the team. We got a super chat right here. I'm going to pop that up. Need to run more. Got an attempt problem, not a line or a TV problem. Love the win. Go Bills. Right there with you, man. Devin Singletary at the end. He was, and even my wife said, I mean, he was going at 7 yards a clip. He finished 13 for 42. I don't think that was necessarily his problem. The offensive line has just been a consistent issue. It just seems like over and over and over again, they are running into just massive issues for this team. And to be honest with you, it just seemed to me that the Bills in totality, minus the first quarter, just things were rocky. It really did. It seemed like this team just was out of sorts, per se. It didn't seem like they knew exactly what they wanted to do. It seemed like, in terms of, like they always get that score within the last 2 minutes of the first half, and that was great, but you come out in the second half and you lay an absolute egg. Your opportunity right there to potentially put the game out of hand. You go up by what? It would have been at that point, they would have been up by, I think it was like 14, 13. It's just one of those opportunities that you absolutely need to do. But just like Jessica said, they did what they wanted to do on that last drive. And that's what's most important, right? When the game's on the line, if the Bills come through, that's what's most important. We do got somebody popping in here right now. Robbie, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good, buddy.
What'd you think about today's game? Let's hear it.
I think the first half they came out pretty good, but then like in the third quarter they kind of like stopped back a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely looked like a bit of regression. I think they were a little bit shell shocked by Miami's run game. I mean, the defense was on their heels. It seemed that There's some issues in terms of like Trey White. Trey White had some really nice plays, and then he got absolutely torched a couple times. You saw Cam Lewis make another bonehead mistake in that second half. I mean, that is 2 games this season where Cam Lewis could have potentially lost us a game. It's just got to get fixed. What else do you think about today's game, Robbie?
Like in the fourth quarter, I think the Bills started to come back a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree. They it seemed like they found their rhythm. And I'll tell you, I don't know if it's just the Bills' way, but man, when the rubber meets the road and things get a little dicey and the weather gets a little crazy and their backs against the wall, it seems Josh Allen knows how to rally the troops. It seems like they kind of kickstart the engine and get going. So, but Robbie, I appreciate you calling, guys. You got to check out Robbie's show, Sports in the 716. Did I say that right, Robbie? I believe I did.
It's Let's Talk 716 Sports.
There it is. Make sure to check him out. Robbie is fantastic. Really good stuff. Robbie, appreciate you calling in, brother. You have a great night. Okay, and go Bills.
Go Bills.
We got another person right behind him, actually. John, what's going on, man?
Good evening. How about that big win?
It's a good one. I got to tell you, it's one of those games that keeps giving you a heart attack, but at the end of the day, it feels good.
That's the truth. I think we kept them in the game a little bit too long that night. But I'll tell you, Miami did show up. They played a good game. Our defense they were hit and miss a little bit, but that's been the mantra this year. That our secondary hasn't been quite, up to snuff. We haven't been able to play everybody. We've got people hurt, but Josh played up, played down, but in the end, he played where he needed to play.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing about the Bills, and they always say it. They're 111th, right? That's the big thing for the Bills is as long as you guys are doing or stepping in when the moment calls for it, that's the most important thing. And that's really what when a full team win comes into play is you're going to have games where some guys are just not going to play up to their potential, right? You saw Matt Milano miss that tackle on Mostert early in the game, kind of got frozen in his position. And then other times later in the game, he might have stepped up big. Tremaine Edmonds had a big game today. And then the defensive line just got absolutely shredded. So you're right. In the best possible moment, it seemed like everybody kind of just filled up and did what they could to help the rest of the guys.
You can really tell off the start that the Miami, their game plan was set up that for snow. They were going to run the ball, and they stuck with it, even though there wasn't snow on the ground. The field was clean, but that Mostert, he had one hell of a run. And we took a while to adapt to him, but we got to make adapts, a little bit quicker. I wish we would. I don't think we should have been that close of a game, but the run defense, we got to watch that. But we got the dub. That's the big thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the expectation was they didn't think. I mean, the last 2 weeks, they didn't anticipate the pass game to be as fluid as it was tonight, but it happens. Sometimes they got rolling quick. Tua was feeling it. He was making some really nice passes. At the end of the day, you have to remember that team is absolutely built on speed, whether it's Mostert. Jeff Wilson didn't play, but he's got a lot of speed. And then you got Waddle and Hill. They've got a ton of speed, and sometimes it just speed kills. So I'll tell you, one thing I got to ask you, John, who was your MVP of the game for the defensive side of the ball?
For defensive side?
Yes, sir. You could say a guy that really stepped up, even though it wasn't necessarily the best defensive game.
A name that actually stands out to me was actually, he had some bad plays, but he had some great plays, and that was Teron Johnson. He did a great job. He defensed very well, had some great push downs. I actually thought Matt Milano would have one hell of a game. He did not. He overran a few plays. and some
Right.
but I think Tehran had a good game.
Yeah, Tehran's been huge for this team. What's funny is in the biggest moments, it seems like he's been the guy that they kind of fallen into, a guy that they can really trust in the biggest moments. You saw it against the Ravens a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
He's a pivotal player and he makes the right decisions. And that's why you didn't see the team really get out of nickel defense too much, because you go
Yeah.
out of nickel defense, you're taking him off the field. So
yeah, I almost kind of wonder if Klein, he got hurt there at the very beginning of the game. I almost wondered if they weren't going to dive off of that nickel and go into that 3 linebacker set, and that kind of pushed them out of that. But still, it worked out. They did good.
Right. Yeah. That's a tough thing in a game like that. And especially, when it comes to a division matchup and a game that's the weather's just consistently changing, it's really fluid. Yeah. You kind of just have to go with what works for the moment. And the tough part is for Leslie Frazier, and I gave him a little golf early in the game. Did he watch tape? Because they just kept making the same things. I mean, the biggest gripe I have in terms of this defensive play right now is the consistent inability to stop those third and long plays. You're seeing it week in, week out, where teams are just converting really at will. And that's a big issue. And I think that's something they will fix. But right now, you have to look. We're 11-3, and that's that's the most important thing at this point. So,
Yeah,
John,
you can almost sit there and read it. What are we going to do at 3rd and 15? It's going to be a pass over the middle, and it's going to be right in the flat, and we're defending either too high or too deep, and it fits. But what can we do?
Right. Well, John, I appreciate you you calling in tonight, and as always, go Bills, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Go Bills.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Like John said, any given Sunday, you have these opportunities. You just got to take them. And that's the one thing that comes to this Bills team is you're seeing a lot of tough matchups. And the biggest thing is the Bills have the 5th strongest or the strength of schedule, and then I think they're like 3rd in terms of total opponent strength. And that's the 3 losses they've had are all against winning teams, right? And the games that they're winning are close games. They said they couldn't do it. They're doing it. The last couple games they've won 1 possession games. They're doing it. That it's an unfortunate situation that the Bills have to keep winning like this. But when you're a good team, you're playing good teams. Some games are going to be tougher than others. Amanda, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
Doing good. Tell me, what'd you think about today's game?
It was intense, very intense. The first half, I was pretty confident. I had a lot of hope. And there in that third quarter, my stomach started to clench. And I was nervous. I was really nervous there for a little bit. I thought about driving up to tailgate today. I live in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And I was going to come up and tailgate tonight, but the weather wasn't going to permit it. So I decided against it, and I decided to watch the game from home. And my stomach was in knots in that third quarter. It was rough. And then they got that, rough in the passer, and I was just devastated. I didn't think we were going to bounce back from it. I was scared. I'm not going to lie. But we came back, and in the end, we won. So, I mean, a win is a win is a win. So,
right. Yeah, and I'll tell you, Jerry Ostrowski said, and I keep going back to Jerry's comment, and actually, Jerry's at the game today. I'm sure he loved it. He said himself, winning is hard. It is. Winning in the NFL is hard. Yeah, it's not easy to come by wins nowadays, especially in this day and age in this NFL. People can score at will, or teams can score at will. You have to do what you can do. And at the end of the day, the announcers were saying at the end of the game, why didn't Singletary just go in, get the 6 points, worry about it later? You know what they did? They wanted to make sure, because if they had scored and Miami came back and tied the game with 30 seconds left, you saw they were scoring so quickly like that, they would have gotten tons of flags. So they did everything they could to cover their bases and win it in their own measure. And they did it.
There was a lot of flags throughout the whole game. Some of them were real frustrating. Like, I want to say stupid mistakes, but I understand they happen. And But my favorite play of the game was when Poyer got that sack. It, that was awesome. That's when I started to come back and like, no, we can still win this. We're still in it. It's not over.
Absolutely.
Poyer's one of my favorite players defensively. So I don't know. The game was intense. That's all I can say. I was nervous, but it came back. So
I'll tell you, I think at this point, I don't know how you can say Jordan Poyer does not deserve to be extended. I know we'll say it every
no,
week. I've said it every single week, whether it's my show or this show or any show. Jordan Poyer now is 9-0 when he's played this season.
yeah,
He has been incredibly impactful for this defense.
yeah.
And it makes everybody else's job that much easier. So.
Oh, I think the vibe that he gives off to the rest of the team is, he's a good influence on everybody.
For
You
sure.
know what I'm saying? So once they have those good vibes, like tonight, for example, and they just started bouncing back and coming back to it. I don't think that game should have been that close, though. I don't. I think we could have had that by miles, but it wasn't until the snow started when they started to buckle down the hatches. I think they could have done that way beforehand, avoiding some of the penalties. But to be fair, Miami had their penalties as well. But
Right.
at the end of the day, we won. We're going to the playoffs. Let's go Bills, my team forever. So yeah, I'm excited to see what's going to happen in these playoffs.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it doesn't matter how you do it. Just win and get in, and then
Yeah.
let the cards and chips fall as they may. The Bills are doing it. Literally, what they've said. They said, win the division, get the number 1 seed. They've basically, at this point, I mean, they go into next week, they win the game, it's over. They've got the division locked up.
Yep.
Now it's just let's finalize that number 1 seed. Let everybody come through, because you saw that snow impacted that game at the end.
Yes, I think it did. And I didn't want to get stuck in that snow. That's why I didn't go up there. But, weather is always it can make or break a game, I'm so glad that Josh decided to come to Buffalo because, not everybody likes the snow. So, and the way that he was playing once it started snowing, it was amazing. And I was just every game. I love it when it's snowing, and come January when it's Super Bowl time, guess what? It's going to be a snowy Super Bowl, and I can't wait. And I hope the Bills are there.
I'll tell you, my wife and I, we have season tickets. We didn't go, which is fine. My wife is very, very pregnant, so that wouldn't have
Oh,
worked anyway. But
congratulations.
thank you, appreciate you. But aside from that, we were on our way home, and I was literally telling my wife, I'm driving. Phone is in the middle console. I'm just yelling. I'm like, just take over the game, Josh. Take over the game. Because once Josh does it, it's over.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like once Josh is dedicated and takes over the game, and now mind you, makes very, very, smart decisions with the ball, because we've seen, i.e. the Minnesota game, when he makes good decisions with the ball, good things happen. So,
Yeah.
But Amanda, I appreciate you calling in. Make sure you stop in again. I'd love to hear from you next week. And go Bills.
Yep. Oh.
Oh, you show me something? What you got?
I got a tattoo, Bills logo yesterday.
Nice. Love it. That's fantastic.
Go Bills.
Go Bills, Amanda. We got another one popping in right after. Steve, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good.
Tell me, who was your MVP for the offense of the game? Who do you think really was the catalyst today?
I mean, it's got to be Josh. I mean, the whole team is like so overly dependent on him. I don't think that's like. I mean, it's great that he like covers up so much and uplifts so much, but I don't think that's a good thing. That it's so dependent on him. That game should not be that close. No way.
Right.
Should be not.
That's That's something that we've talked about over and over again, is that you lose Josh. Like if when they were talking about his arm issues, or if something was to happen, he's 95% of the offense. You lose him, you have no dependency on a run game or any type of kind of just any anecdotal evidence that you could survive beyond that.
Right. It's without question he's like the best quarterback in the NFL. I mean, we all love like the Bills and so forth, and it's a great fortune to have like the number one quarterback, because if you think about, when you look at like the coach over at Miami, he's making a terrible quarterback who's a spot thrower look like he's actually good when he's not. But the thing is, it's like, what I really want to say is that, two teams show the blueprint. San Francisco showed you pull the linebackers back a few more yards, take away the middle. San Diego with third string corners, rookies that's never played, people that are unsigned free agents. They do man-to-man press, on the secondary, and basically it exposes Tua for what he is, a spot thrower. Once the timing's off, once you take off the timing on the first read, he's terrible, and the rush gets in. And you have a coach who doesn't. We have more talent than San Diego on defense, and you have a coach that doesn't make our superior players look better. Actually, he makes our superior players look worse. You have, really the best quarterback in the league, one of the best wide receivers in the league, and do they look uplifted, or is Josh just uplifting everything? So this game, it's at home in the snow. They have an inferior quarterback. They have all their safeties injured, and it's that close. If this makes you feel good about going against Kansas City, this game exposes why we lost to Kansas City. We should have pressed and played man-to-man. Of course, you get burned sometimes, like San Diego got burned. But when you get burned, at least your corners are right there, and they have a chance to make a play. They might get burned, but we'll watch on all 22s. Every time the wide receivers get a completion, it's a free release. And every time the Buffalo corners pressed, it was an incompletion, or it was, you saw Tua throw a little bit behind, a little bit up, a little bit into the ground. You have a contested pass, or you have a chance for an interception. So you have a bunch of coaches that are not uplifting the players who are actually more talented than a lot of teams. I mean, our zone, it'll probably be a good matchup against Cincinnati. But if we don't play more like man press, bump and run against a team like Kansas City, who have like these wide receivers, they're small, they're quick, they're small, but you press them, take a little second off, take off the first read, this game would have been over. At home in the snow with Josh, the way he was playing in the early quarters, this game would have been over. So, I'm glad we won, but watching this game, I was disgusted. Because
I'll be honest, I think they targeted Trey White. If you look at what they did, I think they noticed some tendencies with Trey where he was being a little bit tentative in terms of his reactions, or even just his ability to press. And you saw it last week, his kind of apprehensiveness to actually go and tackle. I think they went after him knowing that they could actually kind of take him to task. And that was a big issue.
Trey White, is always a little hesitant to tackle. It's always been his thing. But Trey White played at LSU, where he was a great press corner. No matter, even if he's a little bit slower, if he presses a little bit off the line, you have a great safety. You can really kind of, the safeties can kind of play zone concepts off that press if they feel like Trey's, not altogether there, especially on a passing down. So it's San Diego did it with a third string corner. You're telling me Trey's not as good as a third string corner, no matter how tentative, no matter how not 100% it is. I know Trey's better than a third string corner on San Diego, and that guy did it, and Trey did it great in LSU. So that's why, that's why like Buffalo, they talk about like, oh, we have this top 10 corner. No, we don't. Watch him against a tall, fast wide receiver, and you'll see what he is. Period. I
Right.
love
And
I love
I'm not
Buffalo,
saying
but I'll
Trey isn't as good as one of them, but you also have to think a third string corner is playing really with no inhibitions, nothing really behind him because he knows he's playing to try to make a name for himself. So he's probably going to go hard in the paint. Whereas Trey is now coming back from a pretty severe injury. And the only reason
yeah
I say that is I've torn my ACL on both my knees, and it is a little unnerving when you're going out there and having to do things
yeah.
that for the past 12 months he hasn't done. I think it's just one of those things. He's not going to be 100% till probably next year.
Oh,
I
for
think
sure.
it's going to take a full calendar year for him to actually be really aggressive.
That's why, like when Trey was there, if a receiver got a pass, I wasn't upset. As long as I know Trey, he's technically sound. I know he's going to be there. So I know with Buffalo's defense, you would bracket like Poyer like behind Trey, especially if he's on like Waddle or or Tyreek. I know like Poyer will like someone will help and support. But you have such a great linebacker, such as like Tremaine with his size, and he should be all over the middle and like taking that away. I mean, there's so many things that San Diego just showed, and they had most of their defense injured. They had really like a lot of backups. We had just physically, technically more talented players, and we let Tua put. They teams showed how you get Tua to be like, 3 for 18, and we let Tua like throw like that when we're at home in the cold with snow falling. I mean, Frazier he wouldn't shift his like soft zone concept. He didn't do it in Kansas City and he didn't do it here. And this is the kind of stuff that gets us beat because one little off play, and we're really behind and we don't come back. And, we don't, it's not like we have Von Miller anymore. It's not that we have like really a blue chip athlete on offense outside of Diggs. So we really don't have that kind of. You need coaches that really uplift the talent, and we don't have an Andy Reid. We don't have like the coach from Philly. We don't have like these sort of like coaches that really are making like average. Like the coach on Miami, he's making. Without him, this team is terrible. This team is a garbage team. He game plans where he doesn't expose to his weaknesses. But you saw San Diego and San Francisco expose his weaknesses. It was you have 2 games of like full 4 quarters of film. You guys will see the real fans that watch like film. I mean, I saw it on the screen. Every time we didn't press it, we gave them like a clean off the line.
Yep.
It was completion. Every time we put hands on them, even if the pass was complete, it was contested or it was incomplete. And that's where it gives us a second where we take away the first read, and then it gives time for our pass rushers to kind of have more time to come to it. Tua, the more time he has, the worse it gets. With Josh, the more time he has, the more like heroic and awesome stuff you see. So this is troubling looking forward to the playoffs. This is troubling. I mean, our defense matches up good against Cincinnati. This sort of zone sort of play matches up actually good against Cincinnati. But once we get to the playoffs, if we do face like Miami again, when we play like this, or we face Kansas City and we play like this, and it's close, I mean, that's where trouble can strike.
Well, so here's my thing, and my devil's advocate to that statement is you see a lot of bend don't break in terms of the Bills defense, in terms of their soft shell. I think what they didn't anticipate was DeMar Hamlin breaking in terms of those absolute big plays that happen. Because if you look at the stat line, right, and I know stats don't necessarily tell a story and you need context to stats, but the one thing you can look at is the fact that Jalen Waddle had 3 catches, 114 yards. That tells you everything you need to know about what happened about his play. Same thing with Tyreek. Tyreek had 9 for 69 with a touchdown, but he had that one break-off play, and the same thing with Mostert. That was really their offense. That was it. You had a couple bad breaks, and that's really what Miami's offense has been for most of the season is they rely on big plays for most of the game. And if they don't get him, that's what happens. San Diego and in the Chargers is they broke the timing. But the other part about it was, and you still saw it. You still saw it in the Chargers game. They had a couple of those big plays, whether it was the fumble that Tyreek took or the one pass to Jalen Waddle that was deep. That's what it comes down to. And I think the Bills relied on the fact that they had good enough coverage. And for the most part, for the last couple of years, their nickel defense, their base shell has been really, really good because they got two strong linebackers. Obviously, Micah Hyde's not playing, but they have two very competent safeties. They felt DeMar Hamlin was good enough. I think they've just felt that with what they've had, they had enough structure and enough understanding, and they're able to communicate with each other where they can disguise coverages and they can have Jordan Poyer drop or bring him into the box where they didn't think that would happen. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, speed kills. So there's times that no matter how good your defense might be, or if you chip at the line, you saw last time, Tyreek took that fumble against the Chargers. That play looked like it was dead to rights. And then within a half second, Tyreek was 10 yards down the field. Unfortunately, in instances like that, you're not going to see that with the Chiefs. Chiefs don't have Kadarius Toney can't stay healthy. Smith-Schuster's fine, but he's more of a slot receiver. And then outside of that, Mecole Hardman can't stay healthy. They don't have a ton of talent like Waddle and Hill. So I understand your concept behind the fact that they could break us. But I think if you play a zone defense against them, the only reason they beat us last time was because of Hill. And that was because of the fact that our corners just couldn't match them on a really bad release.
Here's the thing I want to say. See, the Kansas City receivers and the Miami receivers, they're smaller guys. So if you chip them on the line, you get them off their spots. If you watch the film in San Diego, many times like Tyreek is off his spot. Tyreek is on the ground sometimes within those 5 yards. You wouldn't do it against Cincinnati because they have tall, big wide receivers. They're big physical guys. You wouldn't do this against AJ in Philadelphia. He's a big dude. You wouldn't like press him like that. That plays into his wheelhouse. You would play him with the Buffalo soft zone, bend don't break shell. That's a smart way, and do with sort of like mixing concept. That's a smart way. But these smaller guys that are built on speed, you do want to bump them. That's why San Diego succeeded. That's why San Francisco didn't have to do that so much because they did it with their linebackers like muddling up the middle. But San Diego, basically, they did that with, a bunch of corners that weren't as talented. Here's the other thing. The way Buffalo scored on that secondary with like all those injured safeties, that secondary that isn't good, that's expected. That's expected. We're at home. We have the best quarterback. That's expected. The fact that Miami, with their broken offensive line, with Tua Tagovailoa, to get up and down on the field and score, not touchdowns because he's an inferior quarterback, but score almost. If he throws that like into the chest instead of into like the dirt, that's a touchdown instead of a field goal. You have a better quarterback, this game is probably a loss. You have a better quarterback, and that's what I'm saying. Like, who's good on that offense? It's the two wide receivers. Their two wide receivers are better than our one, Stephon Diggs wide receiver. That's their advantage. Everything else, we're better. And they went up and down on the field on us. Like, if that's not troubling, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, but I mean, here's the thing, right? I want to use the cliche any given Sunday, but you also have to think about the fact that when it comes to this team, yes, they're still a very good team, albeit regardless of what Tua might not be good at in certain instances. You put him in a good position and you run good routes, he can make throws. He's not an incompetent quarterback. He's an NFL quarterback. He's better than most quarterbacks, to be honest with you, and he can make a decent throw. They were just keeping him last time to try to get him outside the numbers. And for the most part, they were able to do it. And the Bills did it in the beginning, and they they clogged the lanes, and then they got away from it. And I think that was just...
Actually, that's absolutely wrong. And I have evidence. You have like an overall stat. When you watch Pittsburgh and they played them like man-to-man pressing, Pittsburgh doesn't have like a super-duper defense. Tua looks terrible. When you watch San Francisco, the way they played them, Tua looks terrible. All of Tua's 3 touchdown games, it's not just like, oh, he was playing against inferior teams. That's like really like a novice way of looking at it. If you look at those games, they all play in zone. They all give the receivers free releases because they're afraid of that speed. So they give them a release and the middle is just wide open. And Tua does that, kind of play action into the middle, the throws that, he knows he is told what spot to throw to, and he throws it to that spot. So it looks like a wide receiver open at that spot. Oh, Tua's number one in accuracy, number one in whatever. Look at the throws. They're two wide open zones in the middle of the field, 5-10 yards, nothing past 15, nothing past 20. Once it's man and his first read is off a few seconds, and when he's looking to throw to that spot and that receiver isn't there, why do you think in San Diego you see so many throws in the middle of nowhere? You're like, oh, who is he throwing to? He's been taught to throw to a spot. He doesn't know how to go to his second progression. He knows what's supposed to. He sees like what looks like man-to-man coverage, and he's like, oh, okay, so Hill's going to be open on this. But then San Diego switches to safety and makes it a zone where they actually cover him up. And when he's trying to throw, he's like, oh, no, he's not there. He waits, and then he gets sacked. So you'll see people who play a man exposes him for what he is. Judge a quarterback when the conditions aren't perfect. When the conditions aren't perfect, who does Josh show himself to be? The best quarterback in the NFL. When things aren't perfect, he shows that he is awesome. He can carry a team to victory. When things aren't perfect for Tua, he is 3-4-15. He is a quarterback that is doing worse than third stringers. That's who he is. And you can trace this all the way back to college. Anytime he has press, anytime he doesn't have the first read going on, look at his passes. You can look at Miami fans who really follow him, who really love this guy, and you can go to, and they're saying the same things I'm saying. And these are Miami fans who really watch film on Tua. So,
Right.
but
And
it's
I
not about
understand
it's
what
not
you're
about
saying,
Tua.
but I think
It's
it's also
about Buffalo's stubborn coaches. It's about them. The matchup is different. We're gonna do the same thing. Oh, we have film. You know what? Let's ignore that. Let's just do what we want to do. Oh, they put up 20 points on us. Okay, let's keep on doing it. That's where we're not gonna. This is the kind of stuff that makes us not good enough to win a Super Bowl. Makes us good enough to get to an AFC championship, but not good enough to win a Super Bowl. Not with injuries all over the place. We don't have Von Miller.
I agree.
We don't have Micah Hyde. We don't have
I agree that there's a
Odell
lack of
Beckham.
ability to. I agree. There's a lack of ability to adapt, and you saw that with Frazier that it's been for the last couple of years. I mean, you saw in moments where he needed to really kind of make adjustments in the second half, he's failed at that. But you could also say in that same sentiment that I think what he feels what works well is the fact that with his defense and playing that nickel, you can plug and play any guy, and they're still at least a competent defense. They're one of the better defense. DVOA, they're one of the better defenses. I understand in this matchup, it may have been better to chip at the line, and I agree wholeheartedly. That was a conversation I had all day. I talked to Damian Woody today when we were doing a Twitter space, and that was a huge thing, was that chipping Tua and Tyreek and Waddle was your number one way to be able to beat them. And it just didn't happen.
I mean, DVOA, it's like, what's our DVOA versus the best teams? What's our DVOA after week 6? What's our DVOA? It's like last year, our DVOA, we had the number one defense. But when you really looked at it outside, when we weren't playing third string quarterbacks and rookies who didn't know anything, we could tell it's not a number one defense. And that's why we got Von Miller. Our fans are going oh, look at our stats. We're a number one defense. Oh, look at our stats. We're still pretty good. We're offensive pretty good. Our general manager tells us who we are. If we were a number one defense, why would we throw so much money to get all these defensive tackles, get Von Miller? If we're really, we have all those great weapons on offense. If Davis is a real number 2 and McKenzie's a real number 3, we would go into the junk heap to sign John Brown and Cole Beasley. I mean, come on. I've watched Cincinnati games. I know what a number one wide receiver squad looks like. It's okay if we have stubborn like coaches that are second tier. It's okay if we had super duper talent like a Philadelphia, like talent all over the place. But when you don't have super duper talent, you need like superior coaches somewhere on offense, on defense, somewhere. Where's our superior coach? Like, where do we have like a coach that are like, yeah, he's better than Andy Reid. Oh, he's better than like, we have our defensive coaches way better than like this mastermind. We have the offensive coach that's way better than, the coach in San Francisco. Where's our like genius coach? Dable was pretty good, but he ain't here anymore. Oh, by the way, no first-year offensive coach has ever won the Super Bowl. That's a scary step for us too.
Gotcha.
No rookie offensive coordinator ever won the Super Bowl. That's scary too.
Well, Steve, I appreciate you calling in, my friend. We'll have to have you come back next week, but I got to run. You have a good night, and go Bills, my friend.
Yeah, I'll pray for the Bills. Still go Bills.
Well, that has been Steve. I appreciate his candor. He's very direct, which is absolutely factual. I mean, the tough thing is with the Bills right now, and I don't necessarily agree wholeheartedly with everything, which is fine. We don't always have to agree. The one thing I will say, you have to look at the Bills in totality. Are they loaded with talent? Yeah. I mean, I'm never going to disagree. Matt Milano might be one of the best, he's a will linebacker, but one of the best linebackers in the NFL. And he's right up there with the Fred Warners, though they play different positions. I mean, he is a very, very talented guy. Jordan Boyer, one of the best safeties. Trey, when healthy, one of the best corners. Taron Johnson, probably the best nickel. I mean, you've got Daquan Jones, one of the best one techs. And then on the other side of the ball, you've got a lot of really good talent there. Mitch Morris, one of the better centers when he's healthy. Josh Allen, one of the better quarterbacks. Stephon Diggs, one of the best wide receivers. They've got a lot of talent. The unfortunate thing is right now they've just been just not healthy, but we got to go back. And I know, Steve, it's that 17-year drought. I like what I don't know who said it earlier, but we're 11-3, guys. Like, let's take a deep breath. We're 11-3. The sky is not falling. That was a tough team. Let's not make any mistakes. Miami is not a trash team. I know Steve said that team was not a good team. That's not true. Miami is a talented team. They've got a lot of weapons. Their defensive line is incredibly talented. They've got some good corners. They absolutely have talent. Absolutely. Mostert, when healthy, is one of the fastest, if not the fastest, running back in the NFL. They've got two of the best wide receivers. That team is not devoid of talent. They are very talented, hence why they're 8-6. The only games the Bills have lost are against the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Vikings. All teams with winning records thus far this season. Why is this team not so healthy? They're snake bitten, man. It happens. The problem is the Bills for the longest time were just healthy. And that's fine. I think we just got conditioned to believe the Bills were always going to be healthy, that it was the training center. Ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't happen. It's an anomaly that the Bills were that healthy for that long. And it's not a bad thing. They were very lucky, and I like what Nate Geary said 2 years ago when the Bills lost 13 seconds. That was their best goddamn chance. Period. Or was that 2 years ago? Last year? Was that last year? That was last year. I have no idea. My timelines are all jacked up right now. My wife's pregnant. My whole mind is all jacked up. But Nate was 100% true. That was their best opportunity to win it all last year. I truly believe we would have beat the Bengals at home, and the Rams are just not that good. Period. But I think the thing about it is, I think this game was a tale of two halves. You had the Bills who looked very, very good in the first half. Came out in the second half. I think they just thought they could continue on. Didn't happen. Dolphins came out with a full head of steam and took it to them. Took it to task. The NFL, man. You can't go into a second half and expect every team to just lay down for you. Dolphins came out, they got a ton of talent, and they went to work. Fortunately, we have a guy named Josh Allen. And when the rubber meets the road, he's able to deliver. And he did. He did exactly that. Guys, and I'll direct this to Steve. I appreciate everything Steve said. And Steve is very true, and he's incredibly insightful, very smart. I can tell he watches a lot of tape. And that's not me being sarcastic. It is true. You can definitely tell. Guys, we're 11-3, and we got the one thing I said it a couple weeks ago. Enjoy this journey. Wherever it takes, we're 11-3. It is the fourth year in a row of over 10 wins, fourth year in a row making the playoffs. There's still 3 games to go in the season. Like, is it 3? 4. 4 games. 3? How many games? I don't even know. What are we, 11-3? So that's 4. There's 3 games left. My apologies. I have, again, my brain is shot. It's 12:43 a.m. Wow. We're 11-3. Guys, enjoy this moment. You got to watch an awesome game tonight. The weather was, I mean, it was cool. You got to hear the fans singing Christmas songs in the stands. Enjoy this, because as soon as you stop enjoying it, it's going to be over. And Josh will be gone, and we'll be back into finding another quarterback, right? Enjoy the moments. Enjoy what we've got here. It's incredibly important. Enjoy this with your family. Enjoy this with your friends. This is a fun time to be a Bills fan. You are 11, guys. We are 11-3. We would have 15 years ago died to be in this position. Died to be in this position, to be winning games like this. Like, I understand. Like, let's take it in stride. But lots of close wins. Can they scrap by the best teams in the league to a Super Bowl? Listen, the games that they're close, right? If you look at the schedule, and I'm going to bring up the schedule real quick. The games that are close, they're playing tough teams. Like, let's just be real here, right? The Jets, very, very good team. Defense, maybe one of the best in the NFL. The Lions have very quickly in short order proven to not be a joke. They are absolutely a good team, could absolutely push to make the playoffs. The Vikings, they just, dude, they have they now have the greatest comeback of all time, albeit a shitty first half. And they lost to the Vikings by 3, right? They beat the Browns. I don't think the Browns are a bad team under Jacoby Brissett. Unfortunately, not unfortunately. I'm glad Deshaun Watson's terrible. The Browns deserve everything they're getting right now. And then the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Titans, they beat the shit out of it. I think the Titans were just in a bad spot at that point in the season. The thing about it is, guys, look at the games. I know there's context to everything there, right? You got to look at what's in front of you. Not every game is going to be a blowout. They beat the Titans. It was a bad spot for them. They beat the Rams. The Rams are just not good. And then most other games, minus the Steelers with a rookie Kenny Pickett, were close games. And the games they lost were close games. The games that they lost this season, right? Lost to the Jets by 3. Lost to the Dolphins by 2. Lost to the Vikings by 3. Like, guys, they're a good team. They've made mistakes. They're a good team. Let's not forget that. I know, like, why are we they just beat the Dolphins. They're 11-3. Why are we having this sour milk conversation as if, like, the world is ending? The Bills are a very talented team. They played a very good team tonight, and they won a contested match. If they had lost the game, would it be a different conversation? Sure. Of course it would. Because you would sit there and say, why didn't they come out in the second half and finish it off? But guess what? They didn't. And know what they did? They rallied together at the end of the game. They stopped them. They made the Dolphins go 3 and out. They got the ball back with 5:56 left in the game, and they drove down the field and never looked back, never gave the ball back, and never lost. Is that not what you want? If that's not what you want, I don't know what to tell you. Not every game is going to be a cakewalk. It is the NFL. These teams are very talented. That is why parity in the NFL is what it is. Teams are very good week in, week out. I mean, look at the Colts Vikings game today. If that's not exactly what the NFL is in a nutshell, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. The Vikings were losing 33-0, then came back and won. Like, guys, enjoy this stuff. I know it's hard. I'm there with you. I'm 34 years old. Most of my life has been absolute misery. For the most part, most of the quarterbacks that I have watched, JP Losman, Trent Edwards, EJ Manuel, Kevin Cobb, Kyle Orton, you name it, I've seen it. I've watched it. It's been awful. I am choosing to enjoy every moment. My son is going to be born into a world of Josh Allen. Like, come on. How do you not beat that? How do you not enjoy this? This is what you got to do, guys. We get the luxury, and I get the luxury, obviously, doing this with you guys, but we get the luxury of enjoying this team while they're winning right now. Let's break down a couple quick things before we close out this show. I'll tell you a couple things that were really important. Tyler Bass, again, guys, got to give Tyler Bass his flowers. The guy is just absolute. I mean, Tyler Bass, I think in very, very short order is becoming one of the best kickers, if not, and I think it's not yet, but I think he's right up there with Steve Christie as one of the greatest Bills kickers of all time. The guy is, I mean, how many times have you seen games that kick at the end? It's 25 yards, and you're like, oh God, please don't miss. How many teams? They get a new kicker every other week, or they hit the field, they hit the post. Like, Bass is absolutely automatic. The guy has been dynamic. Isaiah McKenzie. I love Isaiah McKenzie. I do, man. But Isaiah McKenzie makes me want to have heartburn. Isaiah McKenzie needs to figure his shit out. Like, come on, man. Like, it's up and down and up and down. He's like a stock market, man. That should be. Isaiah McKenzie's nickname should not be face of the franchise. Isaiah McKenzie his nickname should be the stock market. Because it's all game long. All game long. Drop pass, catch pass, drop pass, catch pass. Huge play, bad play, all over. Holy crap. Dude, get your shit together. Come on. We need you. This is the big point of the season. Wow. You know? That offensive line, Roger Saffold's got to clean up his mistakes. You can't keep having these situations happen week in and week out. And it seems it's more often lately than it has been. And that's something that's got to change. Let me look at Isaiah's stats today. 2 for 24. Let's see how many times he was targeted. ESPN always has a good one. Let me see. Let's see. Bills stats. Okay. Bills Dolphins stats would probably be more sufficient in terms of being able to figure out what I'm looking for. My apologies. I'm doing this on the fly with you guys. Let's see. Bills, Dolphins, team stats. Let's see. Swear, there it is. Okay. Isaiah McKenzie. Why does it do this? I don't want to look at that week. It has me on week 3. My apologies, guys. We're doing this on the fly together. Let's see. Yeah, it's there we are. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So, if we look at it right here, Isaiah McKenzie, 2 catches, 24 yards, 5 targets. I don't know if he played better than you thought. Maybe it just seemed that way. Yeah, that big play to, that was challenged, didn't catch. You got to come up with that. Got to come up with it. I know it was a tough catch. Got to come up with it. I understand he almost made that spectacular catch. Dude, at some point you have to make that play. How many times we're waiting for Isaiah to make some type of play. It's been more drops than just missed opportunities with him. And the problem is, now that Cole Beasley's here, I'm telling you, and here's what's going to happen. Cole Beasley is now going to have a full week and a half of practice. Cole Beasley's going to take over. They're going to get him back into the offense like that. And then John Brown's going to get like that. And then Shakir is going to get like that. And then McKenzie's going to be, see ya. I don't know. Mackenzie, let's see what Pat Moran's here, ladies and gentlemen. That's a good show, Rebecca. Make sure you guys check out the Talking Buffalo podcast. Pat has some really, really good content. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I get it, right? There's obviously some plays that he made, but the problem is more often than not lately. And I'm not saying I like Isaiah; he's a nice guy. I'm just saying more often than not, when it comes to it, the guy he just doesn't come up with the big play, like that big catch. That's the play you want him to come up with, right? Secure the ball, and I understand that's a hard one to come up with, but that you need to make those plays. When Josh is laying his body on the line like he is week in week out, everybody's got to step up their game. Period. I know it's hypercritical, but a guy like Mackenzie, you have to be hypercritical because it's just been more often than not, you're getting the thorn instead of the roses. You're getting those mistakes instead of the alternative. And he makes good plays every once in a while. You're right. He drew that PI, which was huge, huge. And he had that one catch that got him the first down on that last drive. But then there's other things. If he makes that catch earlier, that's a different game. It's just little things like that you need to see more often than not from these guys. A lot of these guys just set their game up in big moments. But in totality, I think this team is, I know it's tough to see, and I said it last week, to see through, those rose-colored glasses. It's hard. You're not always going to see everything as being perfect, right? And everything is great. But for the most part, what you can look at is this team is 11-3. They hold their destiny in the palm of their hands. At this point, they continue on and they get that number 1 seed. You're talking that right now, they don't have to play 3 games. They don't have to do what they've done the last couple years. They're securing their destiny to have an easier shot at getting in the Super Bowl. And that's what you want, right? I know it's tough. I know it's tough looking at games, but let's talk about the one big shiny bright spot, man. Dawson Knox. We've been all clamoring for Dawson Knox to get more and more involved, and it seems as though going forward, he's been getting more of an opportunity. That's huge. You need a solid option for Josh. If you can get Cole Beasley involved, which Father Charge, I agree. If Cole Beasley becomes more of a piece, which I think he's going to, Josh loves Cole Beasley. Why wouldn't he? He's in the right spot, the right time. Josh even said he finds the window for Josh to be able to see him so that he can see Josh. That's huge. You got Dawson Knox making big plays. You obviously saw Stephon Diggs with a very uncharacteristic drop in the back of the end zone, right in his hands. I was surprised. But if you have him and Dawson Knox, and then obviously, Cole Beasley stepping it up, obviously with more time in actual, practice to actually get in line with Josh and the new offense, this offense could get back to what it was. You saw more out of Naeem Hines today. Quentin Morris had a beautiful talk about, man, Josh Allen. And he tried to do it James Cook early in the game too. His ability to put a ball where only that wide receiver can get to it is so stunning. It's so stunning. I know we rag on Josh sometimes for doing some dumb things, but man, Josh is just, he also sit there and just making plays that just boggle your mind. Or that 2-point conversion that we all thought didn't go in. Blessed are we that we've got Josh Allen. I'll tell you, for the longest time, we wanted a guy to be able to carry this franchise, and that is Josh Allen. Well, folks, we're going to call it. It is now 12:56. It is very late, and got some good calls in tonight. Really enjoyed a lot of you guys. Amanda, Joe, and Steve, and Robbie, and some guest appearances. We had Richard Rush. I'm going to go through and just call you guys out real quick. A lot of you guys are in here. Just want to say hello to everybody that was in here tonight. Bella and Jessica Tennis. I said John. I called you Joe. I'm sorry. John Yaudis. Alex Block. Matt C. Robbie. Amanda Schmidt. Obviously, you gave a call in. I appreciate you guys for calling in today. Tommy Pluff, the Pullout King. Double R, Richard Rush, my guy. Andrew Bronxtail, great name. Ralph Wilson Sr., I've seen you a couple times in my show as well. Tim Ashenfelter, hope I didn't crush your name right there. Who else we got in here? Christopher Roseborough, and Father Charge. Oh, and Jonathan Rosenboom, Kevin H. Wow, a lot of you guys. Holy cow. A lot of conversation. And then obviously, like I said, NYFA, Calgary Mafia with that Bass is Boss. Couldn't agree more. Chopper 5, and then Pat Moran stopping in with a quick little blurb. Guys, I appreciate you guys stopping in. We're going to be doing this, God willing, every single post game immediately following. And obviously, there's the post game overreaction show with the voice, Joe Miller. But as always, guys, I got to appreciate you guys. Monday night, we will have the Buffalo late night with myself. We haven't quite announced the guests yet. Still getting everything solidified. But guys, I appreciate you guys all stopping in tonight. Just the ability to being able to spend some time with you guys after a game, conversate, really kind of chop it up, see what you guys are thinking, see what you guys are feeling, get the temperature of the room. I am your liaison. I am your middleman to your frustration. I'll take it. But I truly appreciate you guys stopping in here. We over here at Buffalo Rumblings, we got some great content. Make sure you check it out at buffalorumblings.com or youtube.com/at Buffalo Rumblings SB, and you can find all of our content there. I am Thomas DeLaus. You can find me at the Thomas DeLaus on Twitter. Go ahead, hit me with a follow, guys. I'd love to conversate with you guys. I am very inconsistently inactive. I try my best. I'm a mailman. You'll see me in Twitter Spaces. But guys, I truly appreciate you guys stopping into Buffalo Rumblings post-game call-in show. Next time we'll have the post-game halftime show or the halftime call-in show. I am so discombobulated. Guys, I truly appreciate you guys. I keep saying that over and over again. I will absolutely see you guys on Monday night and then after the next game, which is Christmas Eve. So we're going to start this just in like we finish every other show. Go Bills.